Back to my channel. My name is Chinyere and today I am coming to you guys on my channel talking about how exactly I met my husband. Marriage, Nigerian girls are marriage. So this video has been for the longest of times one of those videos that I have always wanted to create, but somehow it just hasn't happened. But by the time you guys will get to watch this video, it'll be my birthday or a day after my birthday. To me, happy birthday to me. I was actually supposed to post another video that I had created a long time ago with my sister when I was back home in Nigeria, but somehow I could not just find proper footage to post as a video, and so I decided to make this video talking about one of the best gifts that I have received in my 30s, just because I love love. And at some point in my life I felt the world revolved around this thing called love. And so I hope somebody gets to learn a thing or two from my dating story, and this makes for an interesting video. And so the story begins in my final year about 8 to 10 years ago. I studied medical radiography in the University of Nigeria Enugu campus. Of course, that was one of the hot courses to study at the time as a young lady. I was in my final year and school had closed. Lots of students had vacated university. Something that used to happen back in my university days was when most of the students leave school, medical students stay back in school to just study and try to have extra classes that they could not have during the school session at the teaching hospital. So this particular holiday I stayed back in school. My sisters had gone back home, and so a friend of mine who was in Nnewi doing her internship invited me over to her apartment in Nnewi. And so I packed my bags. As a student, I was so broke and hungry, picked up my bags, and of course wherever the wind blew I was ready to go. I jacked my bags and I was like, okay, I better go on. By the time I got there, my friend used to go to work and come back every other day, and on this particular day she went to work and came back while I stayed back in her room watching movies. And she came back from work and was like, she needs to go fix her laptop at a friend's house. Do I want to come? And I was like, what am I doing here? Let's be going now. She was like, oh, that he's a doctor, he can also fix laptops or fix electronical things. I was like, I'm not doing anything in this room now. I'm tired of watching movies. Let's go. But I just don't have what to wear. So she threw one very tiny dress at me. Amongst my friends, I was probably one of the very skinny ones all through my university days. I never just put on weight somehow. And so I put on this dress and followed her with my flat slippers, and we head on out to this doctor's apartment. We get to the Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital quarters, which was where he was staying. And when we got there, he opened his doors and welcomed us in, gives me a seat, and I'm just sitting all by myself while he's by one corner of the room with my friend and another girl who came with us working on the laptop. And by the time they were done, he came to me to say, let's go buy drinks for the other girls. So I was like, okay, no problem. What else am I doing here? And he was cute, so I was like, big deal, let me walk with him. After all, he's a cute doctor. And so we head on down to the to a store around the corner to buy some drinks, which was I think some orange juice or something. And when we got there, we're just chatting and chatting, and I can't even remember what exactly we're chatting about. And at some point he just asked me, I think when we're walking back towards the room, he's like, please, can I have your phone number? And I'm like, brother, hold it. My phone number for what? I'm not that easy. If you want my phone number, you know how to get it. And so he decided to get my phone number from my friend, and after a couple of weeks he calls my phone. Of course I was expecting him to call my phone, but then I already had other chaikas. I was in my final year. Hello. So he finally decides to call me, and on this particular day he called me. It was at night. I was doing my project. I was writing my project, and I think I'd been having a difficult time just writing my project, and it was just overwhelming me. And so he called me, and that was the days when there was this service provider called Globacom, and they used to have midnight calls, business that they were doing for students. And so he called me, being a house officer at midnight, being that he was quite broke at the time. He called me and we're talking and talking for hours, and I was just lamenting about my project and how I was finding it difficult to just write this damn thing. We're talking for hours, and all of a sudden he's like, let's pray. So I'm like, hello brother, Which one is pray again now? The only person that calls me and wants to pray with me over the phone is my father. So I knew there was something different anyway, but I just didn't take it so seriously. So we prayed that night, and afterwards he used to call me every now and again, and we'll just chat about school. I eventually get to graduate from school, and then I moved to Abuja to do my internship at the National Hospital in Abuja. And I was there for 1 year, after which I did my youth service and then started working. But by the time I was doing my internship, when he used to come to Abuja, he came like twice to visit me. He always used to say he's coming for paperwork, but like I couldn't figure out what exactly he was coming for, because he was living in Oka, and then he would travel down to Abuja, which is like 8 hours, to do some paperwork. I didn't know that he was processing his documents to come to Ireland at the time, so he didn't tell me about it. Eventually he gets to call me one day and tells me that he's traveling and leaving the country. But every time he used to come and visit me in Abuja, like at my aunt's place or at my place of work, he would just come around and we'll spend hours chatting and chatting. And when he's going, he would just say goodbye, like there'll be no hugs or try to kiss me or even give me a peck. And I was always like, is this person a human being? Is he not seeing this fine young lady? But I knew I liked him, but there was just no emotion. Like we tried as much as possible not to have him. I don't know, somehow we just never had emotional talk between ourselves. It was just very, very platonic. We just used to talk about life and what's happening in our families and all that kind of things. Somehow dude decides to travel and leave the country. So I'm like, okay, goodbye, see you in another like 20 years. Maybe by then I'll have my kids and my husband, and we'll get to introduce ourselves, and I'll be like, oh, this is someone that I liked somewhere along my line in my single days, but it just did not work, and it just did not happen. So he traveled out of the country, and we still kept in contact. Like we used to chat on Facebook all the time. Like by the time we had gotten married and my husband printed out our Facebook chats, I was like, Jesus have mercy on me. Like I actually told this boy my entire life story. I didn't even know through Facebook. And then one day he called me, but I had been dating other guys, and I'll tell him about them, and he'll try to advise me on how to go about my relationships with them and all that kind of thing. One day he called me from Ireland, and we're talking, and at this point I felt this very strong connection. I just could not explain it. And then he's talking and talking and talking, and at some point I'm like, why the heck did you not ever try to ask me out? And so he was like, what are you talking about? You always just friend zoned me and made me feel like you had other boyfriends, and you just wanted my piece of advice. So I was like, didn't you notice that I was very easy communicating with you? I could tell you anything and everything about myself. So why did you not take the initiative to ask me out? So he was like, well, I always made him feel like I wasn't interested in him. He really liked me, but then again, like I had always just made him feel like he was in the friend zone. So he just wanted to not try to cross the line. And so that was the beginning and the end of our woes. Somehow we just kept on chatting and chatting, and the years were going by. This was probably when I was like 27, 28-ish. But I had always known I wanted to get married at the age of 30. So 30 comes, and somehow I had told him almost everything that had been going on in my life, who I'd been dating and what was happening in my life. And he also used to tell me like what's happening in his career here in Ireland. We've been chatting over the years. When one day, I think at this point when I was 30, I had started seeing someone like very seriously in Abuja. Then I was working, as of course, and so let me call this person I was seeing Luke. So Luke and I were really getting on very fine, but there was a lot of things that I knew were missing. Like I couldn't spend up to 2 minutes on the phone with Luke. I just don't know why. There was no communication between us. It was just, he was that fine boy that I liked to hang out with, and Luke was just a very nice typical Abuja boy. Fine, he had a good job, good car with a driver and a house. So it was like all my prayers answered in one human being. And he had already shown me his pay slip like from the beginning of the relationship. So I felt this one wanted to really get serious with me, for him to be showing me his pay slip. Like nobody has ever showed me his pay slip before in my lifetime. So we were dating, and my current husband knew about Luke. But one day he called me and he's like, Chinyere, I think it was like New Year's Eve of this particular year when we decided to start planning to get married. So he called me on that particular New Year's Eve and he was like, Chinyere, if you were supposed to marry any of these boys that you've been telling me about, you should have married them a long time ago. But you've not married any of them. And so this year I'm coming back to Nigeria to ask your father for your hand in marriage. And so I was like, what are you talking about? To ask for whose hands in marriage? You're very far away. You haven't come back to this country in like 3-4 years. So like, how important am I for you to come back to Nigeria to talk to my father for me? Besides, I've told you before, I'm seeing someone very seriously. So he was like, that's your business. I'm not interested in that gist. And so of course I started fidgeting because young lady was seeing Luke, and of course Luke had already started sharing his family, introducing me to his family every now and again, the ones that were in Abuja, and telling them that I was the one he wanted to settle down with. And of course at the beginning of the relationship, Luke had already told me his blood type, which was AS. And is it blood group or be blood type? Even me that's a medical student, I've forgotten. So he had already told me his blood group, which was AA. So it was like my test gear. I usually tell them like I was AS just to see their reaction, because most people felt like I was a stickler, and I don't know, because I was very skinny back in the day. So I just used to tell them that I was AS. So I told him I was AS at the beginning of the relationship, and Luke said it was fine by him, that he's AA definitely, and it's cool. Like, we're going to have perfect kids, perfect and beautiful kids. It's not a problem. Okay, so we're dating and months are going by. Meanwhile, Chris has already told me this thing that he's planning to come back to Nigeria. So my heart is beating every day I see Luke, and I'm wondering like, God, why is this happening at this time of my life? I'm having two good guys at the same time, at this time of my life when I am really ready to settle down. Why is this happening now? And I remember every friend of mine that I had at the time helped me to solve this puzzle. Like, I always used to ask them, how do you know the person to marry? How do you know in your spirit of your spirit that this is the person that you're supposed to settle down with? God, please, I need an answer. So I kept on asking this question, and it used to trouble me so much. But I knew that I could not spend up to 2 minutes on the phone with him. Meanwhile, my husband and I would spend hours and hours talking about things that I cannot even remember myself. And so we were dating, of course, Luke and I, and all of a sudden one day he comes to my office to pick me up at the close of work, and then we'll go out for lunch or dinner or something. And on this particular day he came to pick me up, and we went to his house to watch a movie. So we're just sitting down there watching this very interesting movie, when all of a sudden I start noticing that he's crying. So I'm like, sorry, what's the problem? Then he's like that he wants to tell me something very serious, that he's so sorry for wasting my time all this month, that he should have told me. He doesn't know how to tell me this thing, but that he's always felt that he was AA, but all of a sudden some weeks back he went and he did some blood test and he found out that he's AS. Like, he even had to repeat the test again in another lab, and he found out that he's AS. Meanwhile, I've always known that I am AA. My mom had already told me right from when I was in boarding school. And so at that point, all I could hear in my ears at that point was, Chinyere, this is your chance to kick this ball in whichever goalpost you want to kick it right now. You've been asking me what exactly is the answer to this problem. So of course I'm like, okay, I really don't know what to say, but it's quite sad that this is happening right now, and I don't know how exactly, but like, we're friends. We're not ending with grudges. We're very good friends, so I'm very happy about this. There's no beef involved here. We're parting ways, and we can hug and just say goodbye in a very good way. Like, I let you go freely. One other problem that I had with Luke, which was not exactly a problem for me, but then again, it was something that I knew that I wanted for myself in marriage, was a man that would take care of me. So Luke was just a fine boy who loved to dress up, and it was quite nice to see that fine boy. But then again, he wasn't exactly the provider, which I know that, yes, we're dating, so it wasn't as if he was fully committed to me, but then he was like showing that he really wanted to get married to me. So I felt that there were lots of times I would go out to eat and I would pay for my meals, or I would go to the salon, make my hair, come back. Like, he just did not used to support me, basically. I mean, I was independent enough for myself. I could take care of everything I needed, but somewhere in my head, having watched my own parents' marriage, I'd always wanted someone that will also provide for me in my own lifetime, like my mom and my dad. And so I decided that that was something that Luke could not offer me, or at least he wasn't showing signs that he could offer me, even though he looked like he could take care of me in the future. So I had a problem with that. But anyways, finally the week came, and Chris finally coming to see my father and ask my father for my hand in marriage and all of that gist comes. And the funny thing was, the week that Luke announced that he was AS to me, when we finally parted ways, was the week before Chris's flight was scheduled to come into Nigeria. So my goodness, what other better time could this have happened? Finally Chris arrives Nigeria, and then we start planning towards going to see my parents, see his mom, and all of that kind of shenanigans. And the day came when we went down to the Hilton to pay for some flights that we're going to use to go see my mom, see his dad, blah blah blah, see his mom, and all of that kind of stuff. So we went to the Hilton hotel because we couldn't book online because it was just so close. We couldn't get any dates. And when we got there, I remember I was standing in front of the counter, and I was about to pay for my flight ticket, or for our flight ticket, with my card, when, I don't know, he called my name, and then I turned around and saw him kneeling behind me, and he was bringing out like cash from his bag, from his backpack. So I'm like, hello, excuse me, my neck is aching me here, what is going on? And then he's counting money and like trying to pay for the flight tickets. So at that point I'm like, I've been with Luke for some months now, and this has never ever happened. I need me a man who's going to take care of me and my bills at some point in my life. It's important to me. It was one of the things that were important to me, even though I knew that I was probably like on a good career path that will help me take care of myself by myself. Single-handedly, anyways. So he finally paid for the flight tickets, and then we go see his parents, go see my parents, and everybody's happy and well. And at some point he leaves back to Ireland. So he just came to Nigeria for 2 weeks to plan for that whole let us see our parents and let them know what my intentions were. And that was how your sister started planning wedding in 1 year. I planned my wedding all by myself, and eventually the day came. But something that was peculiar to my dating scene though, or my dating story, was the fact that my husband and I did not exactly get to date. We were together, we're just friends for years, and all of a sudden he called my phone. Like a usual day that would have happened when he would call my phone, and this particular day he just says, I want to marry you. And I think that was just the beginning of the change of our relationship. And of course I was so scared because I hadn't dated this guy. He was so far away. What did I know exactly about him? I knew I was comfortable with him, I knew I felt at peace with him, but then again I still felt I hadn't exactly, I don't know anything about this dude, so how do I get to say yes to this human being? And I had a lot of questions, like, how do I know I was going to be compatible with him in bed? It's one of those questions that you ask as a single girl. How was I going to be sure that he will take care of me, that I won't get to Ireland and all of a sudden somebody's using me for human trafficking activities? So I was very, very scared. But somehow my mom kept on asking me, are you sure about this human being? And I was like, yes mom, I am sure about this human being. And so that has been my marriage so far. So far so good. I always tell my husband, if I had met you when I was in school as a student, I definitely would not have married you, because he also went to my university, but our paths just never crossed. So it just happened that at the time I met him, I was in my final year and he was already out of school doing his house job, and somehow we got to meet just at the right time. And so far I have had my peace, and I'm so blessed to be married to him. So that has just been one of the stories of my life, and probably one of the best gifts that I have received in my 30s, and I thought I should share with you guys as a video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two from my story. I'm not sure how impactful this will be to someone, but I just felt one of these days I will have my children and I would love them to actually sit down and watch my stories and my videos. So this might just be an introduction to new things on my channel. Hopefully I will be able to diversify a little more afterwards. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name remains Chinyere, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button and also the like button to this video, and also the notification bell. And up until I see you next time on another video, take care of yourselves and bye.